Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for taking the time to join us today on this webinar, which is intended to introduce you to some of the new features that will be available in Hector following our update that we will be doing tomorrow evening. So as you'll see during today's presentation, this update will offer you visual improvements, new customization options, and different features that will enhance your experience with the software. Today's presentation will be divided into 5 sections. So first of all, we're going to take a look at what's new globally on the application, what's new in the inventory module, in the loans module, what's new in the settings, and finally, we'll take a look at the new features on the mobile application. So before handing over to my colleague Joey, I just wanted to remind you that this webinar is being recorded and that we will be sending you the recording by email if you'd like to share it with some of your team members. And also there's a Q&A section that is available in today's webinar should you have any questions for us along the way. Joey, so I'll let you get started with the global new features in Hector.
Thank you, Jérôme. Hello, everybody. So my job today is to take you through all the new features that are part of our fall update, which you see on screen. This update is public and is available through our knowledge base. So as you follow along during the video today, don't worry about taking notes of everything that you're seeing today, as it is part of our knowledge base article, which details all the changes to the application. So if we jump right into our biggest change since the current version of Hector, we can see that there has been a layout overhaul. So we've changed the design of the application itself so that it becomes easier to navigate, to use, and with a more modern approach with regards to what web applications are offering today as a navigation throughout their platform. So what you'll notice at first is that we have a top line menu, which includes, of course, the logo, a search bar where we can search through the different entities in your database, as well as a quick add button, your history while navigating the application, as well as the settings and our help section. There is also the user account, user preferences button, which allows you to either change some of your preferences, change your passwords if you have a local account, as well as log out, change your language, change your theme. So all of this is contained within the top bar. Previously, we used to have the main menu of the application as a top bar as well. This has been moved to the left-hand side. So we see here all the major sections of the application with the different modules. This might be different in your environment depending on your plan, as well as depending on what you've activated in the module section. Everybody that is a Hector customer has the inventory section. And this is a good example to show you some of the new design from the main menu. We can minimize and maximize each of these sections to reveal what is the different subsections that is part of this section. For example, here we have our warehouses, our categories, our subcategories, as well as our assets. We can navigate to any of these sections quickly simply by clicking on that section. We now know that we are in the inventory module in the asset section because both are highlighted, and the main section I'm in is going to be highlighted in the orange font. We can quickly create assets from the plus that is next to every section. So this is another shortcut allowing you to add records to your database in a quick and efficient manner. You'll also see that this main menu can be minimized to increase the available space for grids, the forms, the different areas of the software. This adds more real estate, allowing a bigger work surface throughout the app. When minimized, you can still access the subsections of the menu by clicking on the corresponding logo. So if I click on the inventory logo, I have access to the same sub-menu that I previously had, only now it shows as a pop-up instead of being part of the menu itself. Next, big change with regards to the menu is that previously, all of the sections or the different filters that I could apply to my asset list were contained within large icons above the grid. In order to add additional viewing space, we've moved these views to this toggle section that we see here. So I can still navigate to my assets that need maintenance, my assets that are reaching their end of life, but I can do so through this toggle here. So this will filter the current view that we see here, but it will also allow us through time to add additional filters without taking real estate from the menu itself. Next, one of the final major changes that we've done as part of this new design is that we've centralized the settings section. Previously, the settings were available in the menu itself. Now we can click on the settings section, and then we will see all of the settings of the application itself in one single page, as well as a short description that explains what we can do within each of these pages through the settings. So it will be easier to navigate and more clear the different settings found in the application as part of this design overhaul. Of course, the design has also been themed, so the design will follow the dark theme as well as our popular rustic theme have also been converted to this new design. And to finish on the design aspect, remember that anything that's been added, if you have access to our branding section, you will be able to change all the colors of the app that you see through the branding in the sections. All of the different configurations are available on the right. And as you make changes, you will see them in the display, the preview that we see here of the impact on the site. So let's go back to our light mode as we continue exploring the new features. As Jerome mentioned, the next section we'll be taking a look at is the inventory section and what's new with regards to the inventory section itself. So you'll notice that already there's a module that previously did not exist in Hector. The bundles module. We'll be looking at that shortly, as this is a new module that we've created since the last release. But what I want to show you first is our bulk update capabilities. So within the app itself, previously we could choose different assets that we wanted to update or to change in the system. For example, wanted to move them or remove them from inventory. Now, when we select multiple assets, we'll have the option of selecting either all the assets in the filter that we're currently in, and we can now edit individual fields for each of these assets. So for example, if these assets have changed price over time, I can come inside this bulk update screen, either scroll to find the price field, or I can filter within the fields themselves. I believe it's amount. Take the value and, for example, change it to something that corresponds to the modification I'm trying to make. So in this case, I'll be mass updating the residual amount on my assets to a new value. And this job, once confirmed, will run in the background, and I can receive an email update when the job has completed and has updated all of these assets. A job that typically will update 6 assets will be very quick, but if you're updating thousands of assets, this could take a few minutes, so you can receive an email confirmation once that update has been completed. You can also find the status of bulk updates through the settings screen in the data management section in the bulk updates. Since I have not run any bulk updates in this environment, for now we have no records, but we could see all the history of the bulk updates that have been made in the app. The second element regarding inventory that we want to show you is our new archiving section for assets. So previously, when archiving an asset, we had the option to consume, to mark it as lost, or to archive. We've added the possibility for customers to add more status to fit your needs. For example, I might want a status that is for recycling. The idea here is that when I will take an asset and remove it from inventory, instead of archiving it and adding a note to say that it's been recycled, I will be able to choose the recycling status. There are different options that you can customize, whether it be the color of the button, its behavior. In my case, each of the status that I will add will either perform an end of life action or a lost action, meaning I have to associate my new status to a behavior that is part of the behaviors that are in the system at the moment. So I'm going to choose to associate my recycling status to the end of life behavior, and I will come and select an icon that corresponds to my new status. I can also force somebody to enter a note or to show the note field when I will recycle an equipment in order to get more information from the user that is recycling the equipment. Once I've added the different status that I'm looking to collect, these status will be part of all reports. There will be part of the different views that you have access to in Hector, so you will be able to filter and use this new status when performing reporting or lookups. And we will show you, for example, I can come and recycle this specific asset with my new icon. I save, and I've recycled this device, which shows that I can add more than one different button when removing inventory from the platform. The next elements the next features that I want to show off are going to be asset or inventory and loaner related. So the first one I want to show is our revamped asset association functionality. Now, asset associations allow you to link one asset with another asset found in the system. This is a soft link, meaning that the system will know there is a relationship between both assets, but it will not force or block any potential transactions in the system. It will be a shortcut to do things faster. In other words, if I link two assets together, I will then be able to move or reserve these assets a lot faster than had they not been associated together. I will show you an example with an asset I worked on earlier today. We'll jump back to our all view. Now this asset here is I've associated with a few other assets that were currently in my database. I can see that because I have two associations that are identified here. If I click on this association, I'm going to see that attached to this MacBook Air is an iPad and an iPhone. I can also see the relationship between this association, meaning there is a principle of parent-child, and my MacBook is the parent of these two assets, which are children of this, of my main asset. The idea here is we can create multiple levels of association, and when moving the assets, we can choose, or reserving the assets, we can choose to move all of the associations or just the direct children of that association. So you will be able to create different links between your assets, and this will facilitate greatly the time it takes to reserve or move these assets. We'll show an example in just a few seconds. The last thing I want to show you is how do I associate assets together. I simply have to navigate to the Edit Asset section and find assets that I'm looking to associate to my kit. For example, here to my main asset. For example, I could add a cable to my association. Well, the idea here is I have a computer, an iPad, an iPhone, and then a cable that goes with it. Since my cable is managed as a lot in Hector, I can add more than one to this association. Once I've saved, I will show you how this becomes useful when performing reservations or moving assets. For example, if I move these assets to a user, I could come and select a user in my database, and we have the option automatically to move the three assets that were linked to that user. In other words, instead of individually going on each asset and moving them, we simply choose the parent, and the children will be moved as well as the parent. We can also choose to loan or reserve the associations to a specific loaner. So instead of moving the assets to the user, we'll loan out the equipment to the user. So I will select the same user, and I will find my asset in my database. And what you'll see here is now I have the option of not only loaning the computer itself, but I can also loan the equipment that is associated to that asset. I can either scan them using a barcode scanner in order to check off what I'm loaning to the user, or I could click on the select all, and when I'm ready, I simply click accept, and this will create 4 lines in my loan. So in other words, behavior is similar to what we could previously do with kits. However, The added benefits is I can choose which assets I want to bring into my loan versus a kit, which was more rigid. I would either bring the kit and all of its components or simply or not at all. So in this way, we've created a shortcut or a faster way to add assets to a loan.
So that is a question that I just received in the chat section, Joey. What's the difference between an association and a kit? So you just answered. So an association is more flexible and a kit is more rigid in its structure, and when also you manage a kit or an association within a reservation.
That's correct. Thank you, Jerome.
Thank you, Joey.
Thank you for the question. And another feature that we want to show you is, as you see, I'm in the process of creating my reservation. But let's say I accidentally closed Hector or accidentally switched to a new section. I would have to start over and re-add my assets to my loan because Hector would not remember what the previous my previous actions were. We've added a new feature where we now remember or create a draft of that initial loan. So when I go back to create a loaner, I can either continue with my draft or create a brand new reservation. So if I wanted to continue with my draft, you'll notice here that all the elements that I had added to my cart are still there, and I can pick up where I left off and start to add more assets. So the idea behind this draft mode is to save the work that was already performed. But also, what the draft mode does is reserve the equipment. So if somebody else tried to add the 0095 iPhone to their cart, it would show as not being available because I have selected that item from 11:30 to 12:30. So I am now, it's the equivalent of having created a loan with this equipment, except I'm in draft mode and it's already reserved that equipment to me. Through the settings, you can control how long you keep equipment reserved while in draft mode. So if, for example, your organization wants to keep the equipment for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 1 hour, you'll be able to set those settings directly through the warehouse or stockroom itself. The added benefit as well is that this draft mode works whether I'm in a private reservation or if I'm in a public reservation. In other words, you'll see here that I already have in my public reservation that cart that contains my 4 items that I created through a private reservation. So these follow as I move back from the private to the public catalog. The draft mode remembers what I added to my reservation. So this draft mode is gonna save a lot of time, allows me to quit my reservation or exit the page, come back, continue my work. The next element, and you saw that through the asset association, it ties into the loaner module, so allows a lot of flexibility. Another element I want to show as we're in this main page is that you'll notice that there's a new quick out section. This quick out section allows you to scan an asset that is being loaned to a student or to a user without having to find the loaner in the list and without having to go into the loaner and then set that individual item as being out. In other words, you'll be able to scan your QR and barcodes, simply click on the go or press enter or let the scanning do the work. And this is going to take the equipment and on the loan itself, put it as out or check it out to the user. So very quickly from your main loaner page, you'll be able to do actions that save a lot of time for your daily operations. Another thing or another new function feature that we've added, which we hope is going to save tremendous amounts of times when doing loaners, are what we call bundles. Now, a bundle, similar to a kit, similar to an association. However, the primary difference between a kit and the association is that the bundle stays at the subcategory level. In other words, you have a catalog that has categories and subcategories, and you have assets. However, you do not know in advance which assets are going to be used on a loaner until the actual reservation itself. In other words, you have a lot of cables, a lot of stands, a lot of cameras, a lot of computers. You can create a bundle with this equipment, and then when your users come to make a reservation, they choose your bundle, and that automatically adds the assets that are available at that time to the reservation. Let's take a look, as what I've explained can be a little bit daunting when we haven't seen it in action. So we're going to take a look at a bundle I created for the benefits of this demonstration. We have a bundle that we've added to a finance section. I have an owner in my organization who maintained this bundle over time. So I know that if I have any questions about this bundle, I can reach out to Chad for more information. I can also add a description that will be seen by the person making the reservation of that bundle for more information. So I could say this bundle is for finance new employees. I can also add an image for my bundle. So I can have an individual image for each of the sub categories, but I can also have an image to represent my bundle itself. Now, when I'm in the bundle, you'll see that I have different items that I added or subcategories. I have an iPhone, an Elite Book, and 2 monitors. So the idea here is that an employee in the finance department could make a reservation when they come into my organization for an iPhone, an Elite Book, and 2 monitors. But I could toggle this as to align it with my business or my organization's requirements. I can also decide when loaning this equipment which warehouses or which stock rooms are allowed to make reservations of this bundle. So if I'm creating a bundle for a specific office or for a specific area of my business or my school that does not apply to all of the stock rooms in my environment, I could come in and select only the stock room which this bundle applies to. We'll see it in action when we make the actual reservation itself. So I can create as many bundles as I need to represent the different business scenarios within my organization. And after creating the bundle, I can automatically see, with regards to the 3 items that are in this list, how many I can create or reserve with the existing inventory. In other words, I could theoretically loan out 10 of these bundles before I would be missing one of these equipment to perform that loan. So again, I create a bundle, give it a name, give it a description, and then I add subcategories to it. very important. And then when I come in and I want to make a reservation for a bundle, I will create a new reservation and discard my previous draft, and I will use the public reservation page to show you this bundle in action. So now that I've added a bundle, you'll notice that I have three sections in my catalog. I have a section for assets and different articles. I have a section for my bundles, and I have a section for my what I've called projects in my environment, but this could be rooms, this could be different places, the way you've set up your labels within your environment. So my default view, I can navigate the catalog and add individual items to cart, but I can also use my bundle. And when I use the bundle, I can see that I have my new employee bundle. I see the contents of the bundle. I see its available quantity with regards to other reservations in the system and with regards to the stock room or warehouse in which I am currently. So in other words, in the previous step, we saw that we had theoretically 10 bundles in the system, but when I'm in my office, I have 5 based on the inventory that is currently in place. I have access to the same previous functionalities of seeing availability through time, and I can add to my cart 1 or 2 or 3 of this bundle, depending on my needs. When I add my bundle to my cart, you'll notice that this is a shortcut, or this is an accelerator in order to individually add each of these different items here. So I see I have an iPhone, an Elite Book, and BenQ. Instead of having to navigate the catalog and finding individually each of these items and making sure I made no mistakes, I choose one bundle, I add that bundle to cart, and when I navigate to the next screen, I can see that the system automatically selected assets based on my definition for an Elite Book, a BenQ, 2 of the monitors, as well as the iPhone. So the only thing I have left to do now is choose my project purpose, enter a note, drop any documents I might have, sign off, and save. So I've actually saved I've saved a lot of time instead of navigating the catalog and finding assets. I've selected my bundle and the system did the thinking for me. If I'm a student, I could use this to reserve equipment related to a project. I could also use this for event planning where I'm organizing certain types of events. I always have the same stage, the same cameras, the same different equipment based on the size of the event. I could create bundles that correspond to my different events. The same thing in a construction environment, I could create different bundles that correspond to certain jobs that I need to perform within my organization. So I have a job that requires this certain tools, certain consumables, then I can add those to a bundle to make it really, really quick to move and reserve assets using the application itself. This So this covers what we wanted to show with regards to bundles. The next part of the demo is going to show you the settings section, and we have a few areas of the settings section we want to show off. So the first one is it stays tied to the loaner section, and it's the penalties. So Hector currently has a penalty system, and this penalty system can either be calculated through points or dollar amounts. The penalty system, we have a full guide that you can read that is going to explain how it works, or you can contact our team for more information on the penalty system. But what I wanted to show today is that we've added a new section when calculating either the points or the amounts that are going to be deducted from a user based on business rules. So in other words, for example, I loan out equipment to a user, and the value of those equipments passes a certain threshold. We could calculate fees based on those scenarios or points that will be deducted. Example, I have a loaner that is for $200 of equipment. I could determine that when performing or when a penalty has been detected and the loaner is from $0 to $200, we could instigate a $5 fee and then add multiple lines to increase the amount based on your business rules. So in this way, you will be able to penalize or properly calculate the fee that a user needs to pay with regards to bringing back a loaner late or even breaking equipment that was part of a loaner. The loaner penalty module is an area where the user guide is really helpful to understand how you can use the penalties to accommodate your different business scenarios. You can also reach out to us if you have hours or bank hours for training, and we can train you on this specific module and different areas where it could help you manage your loaners and manage events with regards to your loan. The next part of the settings that I want to show today is within the general section. You will see an email tab. This email tab was excuse me. This email tab was previously there, but we've added a section at the bottom called spam protection. The idea behind spam protection is when configuring alerts and notifications in the system, if you make a mistake and Hector detects that you're about to send an email to more than 25 people, it will automatically block the email and you can receive an alert that there is a configuration issue in the software that would have had the impact of sending more than an email to more than 25 people. You can toggle this to fit the amount of people you think will receive emails in the system, but the idea is to prevent Hector from sending out too many emails due to a configuration mistake. Still within the settings section, we moved out the modules from the general and moved it to its own section, and we can see the different areas of the software that can be turned on and off. When it is impossible to turn on and off a section, it is because this is part of the base platform and it cannot be turned on and off because you would lose the value of the software by turning it on or off. So the idea here, we also see the different plans that apply to this module, and you'll see that certain modules are only available within certain specific plans. So the modules section allows you to tailor fit the different areas of the software with regards to your organization's needs. Next to the branding that we saw earlier, we have our labels, and these used to be called barcodes. Now they're named labels. And what's changed since our last release is that we can create more than one label for the different areas of the software. So I could create a label that is 1 inch by 2 inch for the asset, and then create another label that fits on a page and have these available to me in the app. So let's take a look Let's say I create a 50 by 100 label. I can choose to give it a description if I want. Another new feature of labels is I can choose barcode or QR or no code at all. So I could have a blank label that I can print and put on my assets. So it's no longer forced to have a barcode or a QR code. Let's say I maintain the barcode. I can now choose where my text will align on the barcode. So this is a new option that was added. The margins were there before. I can also choose to either use a warehouse's image on the barcode itself, or I could even choose to use the asset or subcategories image on the barcode. So if I wanted to show the tool or the equipment as part of my barcode, I could do so. This is especially useful when you're sticking or you're taking the labels and not necessarily putting it on the equipment itself, but if you're putting it on a shelf or putting it on a sheet, it makes it a lot faster and easier to see the equipment versus just having a title. Next thing is that we've added a few more label or a few more text options. So we can add the label name, we can add your organization's name, but we can also choose the order in which these labels show on the asset tag itself. So previously, you were forced to use the order that Hector determined. Now we can toggle which is going to show first, second, third, etc. When I'm ready, I can save, but just before I do that, I will change the width and the height to match my definition. How do these labels, how do you use them once you've created a new label? You'll be able, when you go on an asset, you'll notice that you have a printer. This printer is going to print the default label, but now there is a new arrow that allows me to choose two more labels that are available in the system. And I could choose to print the label that we just designed together. So I can see that I wanted the asset image. I have its barcode. I also have its asset tag as well as its title. So you can really come and define the different labels that you have in your environment and generate as many labels as you want. Next, and the last element before we switch to the mobile improvements is within the settings asset section. There is a usage rate that can now be turned on in your environment. So the idea behind the usage rate is that you can come and calculate the different usage of the equipment that is currently in your environment by category. So if ever you wondered or wanted to know how often your computers, your cameras, your tablets, your phones are being used, you could select the different categories that you want, and then you can either let Hector do the heavy lifting of calculating the usage automatically. So for example, when we assign an asset to a user, when it's been put on a loan and it's in or out of the environment, when it's been assigned to a project, we want to calculate usage on that asset. So you can check off all these different settings, but we could also choose to manually log usage against the asset through a QR code or through a manual action in the environment. We're going to see an example really quickly. We can also choose the days of the week where we want asset usage consideration to take place. So my idea here is my business is open from Monday to Friday. I could activate these days, and then these are the days that asset usage is going to be calculated against the asset. In other words, if a computer is not used on a Saturday, it won't count as a strike against that computer. The idea is that since the business is closed on the Saturday, we don't want to record usage against that asset. We don't want to penalize that asset. Once I set my settings, I can excuse me. I can also choose an icon to correspond with the asset usage when I'm doing manual, when I'm recording usage manually through the app. If all of this looks good, I'm ready to save, but just before saving, we have the option of setting a start date. This start date is when you officially started to use Hector to manage your inventory. In other words, if I leave it blank, it's since the beginning of time. But let's say that I moved into production with Hector on January 1st. I could set my start date as January 1st. The idea now is that anything in the system before January 1st is not going to be recorded. Only events after January 1st are going to count against the calculation. One final thing to remember is even if I set 1st of January, if I buy an asset in September, that asset usage is going to start at the asset acquired date and not the start date where we start calculating asset usage. So you will not be penalized if you buy an asset in September but haven't used it from January to September. Once I've completed, I can save these settings, and Hector is going to save the setting, but also is going to launch a calculation effort in order to analyze all the records in the database in order to automatically log usage against an asset. Our guide has a tremendous amount of information on how to set it up, how each one of these functions work. But the end goal is going to be to have statistics with regarding asset usage, and we've put up some sample statistics here. You'll be able to see lifetime usage percentage. You'll be able to see how many times an asset was used through its life cycle. You'll also have a usage frequency that's calculated by Hector. Is it being used daily, weekly, monthly? And on the asset page itself, you'll be able to use graphs to show asset usage over time, to see how many times an asset was used per month or per day, depending on your requirements. And these bubble up to the subcategory and to the category itself, so you can see if a category, how often the assets are being used within that category, as well as different subcategories. You can add tiles to the dashboard that's going to show you asset usage over time, which assets are not being used, the dollar amount of assets not being used, as well as a lot of reports that you can generate directly out of the system that's going to show you asset usage that can be then exported to Excel and used to generate your own reports outside the system. It's important to know that asset usage is calculated once per day. So the idea is that Hector is going to take into consideration all the events that occurred during the day in order to generate that asset usage in the system. And you remember we talked about manually reporting asset usage. We can either do that through this button here on the asset action menu, and we can do it on multiple assets at the same time. So I could choose to log usage against these 4 assets. When we log usage against an asset, it's for the day that we're currently in. So I've logged usage for today, essentially against these 4 assets. I can also print let me do this. I can also print an asset or a label that when scanned, this label is going to record usage against that specific asset. So the idea here is when I scan this QR code, I've recorded usage against that asset. I don't have to log into the system. I don't have to manually select the asset and click on usage. I can take this QR code, stick it on equipment or stick it on something within my organization that is being used, and employees only need to flash this QR code and it will log usage of that equipment. This is about what we wanted to show with regards to the settings section. There's a lot of other features that change within the app itself. Again, you have the full details within our article. But
Sorry,
we
Joey.
wanted,
Sorry,
yes?
Joey. I have another question in the Q&A section, which is, how do I know if a new feature is included in my subscription plan?
Excellent question, Jerome. So you can know if a feature is included in your plan. There are two ways to know. So within our guide or within the fall release in our knowledge base, you will see these three icons: a shield, an armor, and a castle. Next to each of the features, you will see if that feature is available or not in your existing plan. So if you have a castle plan, you will be able to use asset associations. But if you do not, you will need to reach out to our team to have this plan added to your subscription. What we just saw together, the asset usage, is part of our armor and castle plan, and so on. So this is a quick way to know which features that you have within your environment. And also, if you're in Hector itself, you can navigate to the modules section for a quick reminder of different aspects or different menus of the software and what is available on your plan. Thank you for the question. And to finish things off, we'll look at the mobile app. Now, the mobile app, through our current demonstration platform, we could not show the improvement directly through the app, so we will show them through the knowledge base. Essentially, there's a few changes that you need to take note of. Is you can now in the mobile app choose which tiles to show by clicking on the edit screen and turning on or off the different sections. There is also a new notifications button at the bottom next to the home. If you click on this notification, you will be taken to a page where you can select the different notifications, either inventory, loaner, or operations. There is a new settings section that when clicked, you can use to log out or change your language. This used to previously be in the bottom of the menu. Within the inventory section itself, you have the option to check the different assets, and there will be a menu with a plus, and when you click on it, you'll have the different actions that are available to you. So either move assets, add them to a work order, a transfer order, etc. So you'll be able to perform quick actions. And by far the most important change has been the ability to multi-scan. And we will have a video that shows this in action. But the idea behind this feature is that when you use our new scan button, you will be able to scan multiple QR or barcodes at once without having to click and return to the scan section. In other words, if I'm making a reservation or planning to move 5 or 6 assets, I will be able to scan them, and the list below will populate with everything I've scanned, and then I can perform an action on these assets to quickly move them to a designated section. So this recaps or finishes the product demonstration that we wanted to show you for this new fall release. If you have questions, comments, want more information, you can reach out to your dedicated account manager, or simply reach out to our sales team, and it'll be a pleasure to show how these features can help you and your organization tackle day-to-day challenges. So with that, I'll return the presentation to Jerome, and I thank everybody for taking the time to listen to my presentation.
Thank you very much, Joey, for your presentation, and thank you all for your participation and also your interest in the new features of Hector. As I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, we will be sending you the recording of the presentation by email, but as Joey told you, if you have any questions or you would like to arrange a personal meeting with our team, don't hesitate to contact us either by phone or by email. So thanks again for your presence, and don't hesitate if you have any questions about the new features. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye. Have a nice day.